We're interrupting this programming right now to bring you an 11 breaking news alert, some important information into the newsroom right now. We just got word that a verdict has been reached in the case against Patrick Frazee. That verdict reached just about 7 minutes ago now.
We're expecting to hear what it is. We do not know what it is. This confirmation is simply that a verdict has been reached. That after about 3 hours or so of deliberations by this jury. That after 2 weeks of testimony in this complicated and enthralling case.
It is complicated. It's getting a lot of national attention. As you know, he's accused of murdering his fiancée, Kelsey Barrett. He did not testify during this trial. It took about 2 weeks. He's facing charges of first-degree murder, but the judge did tell the jury on Friday they do have the option of convicting him of second-degree murder or manslaughter. So if they don't convict him of first-degree murder, they have those choices for them.
It's a long list of charges, including that one. There's also a Class 2 felony first-degree murder after deliberation with solicitation. That may well be related to the fact that Crystal Lee, the woman from Idaho, the former girlfriend, had something to do with being asked to commit this murder in the past, according to her testimony. Felony first-degree murder, as we mentioned, Class 2 felony first-degree murder after deliberation with solicitation. So we've got variations on that murder charge. Also, a charge of tampering with a deceased human body. And Diane, we've heard a lot about that allegation.
Yes, we have. And it's interesting, Don, because that jury started deliberating just about 11:30 today. Confirmation now that they do have a verdict. We expect it to be released within 20 minutes of that. So hopefully in the next 10-15 minutes or so, we'll have a final answer about their decision about Patrick Frazee. We want to take a moment to go live now outside the courtroom to Kelsey Soto. She's from our sister station in Idaho. She's been covering the case from there, and we want her to walk us through some of the evidence the jury had to help make their decision. Kelsey.
Well, Diane and Don, during the trial, we heard from Idaho nurse Crystal Lee, who told the jury how she was involved in the case. She told the jury that Patrick Frazee killed Kelsey Barrett on Thanksgiving Day of last year. In her testimony, she explained to the court that Frazee had allegedly killed Kelsey, put her body in a black tote box, and then burned it on his property. During the trial, we also heard from DNA analysts who tested blood found in Kelsey's townhome. They said that DNA from blood in several different places came back positive to be Kelsey's. We also heard from a friend of Patrick Frazee's who said Frazee made remarks to him about finding out a way to kill Kelsey Barrett. That friend told the court he made a comment afterwards saying, "No body, no crime." Now, the jury heard all of the testimony. They saw all of the evidence. We've been told that a verdict is in and should be delivered here within the next 20 minutes or so. We'll be sure to let you know as soon as we have that information. In Cripple Creek, Kelsey Soto, KKTV 11 News.
Kelsey, thank you so much. It's been really helpful to have their partnership and being able to report on this from their sister station there. So we do have a verdict in this case.
The Idaho connection, of course, that nurse who says that she was asked on 3 separate occasions by Patrick Frazee to kill Kelsey Barrett, and who also claimed in her testimony under oath that she came down to Woodland Park to clean up the crime scene after the murder that she described in the way Patrick Frazee described to her that it had happened.
Well, we've got a busy day ahead, of course. We have 8 counts that we're waiting to hear the verdict on. We will continue to stay on top of this. As soon as we get it, we will have it for you right here on KKTV 11 News, also online at kktv.com.
For now, we'll return you to programming. We'll be back here if there are any updates at all, and of course on 11 News at 4. We'll see you then.
Okay, we are interrupting our programming right now. A verdict is in this 11 breaking news alert in the murder trial of Patrick Frazee.
We're just getting confirmation from our crew now in Cripple Creek that he has been found guilty of first-degree murder in the murder of Kelsey Barrett, his fiancée at the time.
We still have 8 other charges that the jury deliberated about 2 hours on. Those are coming into our newsroom right now, and as soon as we get those from our producers, of course, we'll share it with you right away. But of course, a fascinating verdict reached. Guilty murder, first degree, for Patrick Frazee.
And this is a case that has captivated the nation as well as southern Colorado, because this man at first was in one of those situations where he reported her missing, couldn't find her, didn't know where he was, did not cooperate with the media right away as far as doing any interviews at that time like people have in other cases.
He didn't even show up to the press conference, Don. We were waiting for him, wondering where he was that day. Of course, when there's someone missing, that's the first thing you think. Where's the family? Where's the boyfriend? Where's everyone involved in the case? He was not there that day, and now we know a jury has decided his fate.
And police and investigators determined within about a week or so of her disappearance on Thanksgiving last year that this man was not only their person of interest, he was their prime suspect in what according to testimony, was a brutal and horrible murder.
Such compelling testimony. We heard from his ex-girlfriend, Crystal Lee. She told law enforcement he blindfolded Barrett while she was sniffing candles. He beat her on the back of the head with a baseball bat. It's just so awful. We showed her video over and over again as police were searching for her. That surveillance video from Woodland Park. The last time she was seen on Thanksgiving last year, cameras had captured her grabbing a grocery cart with her little girl inside that cart.
That's who's been in the middle of this back and forth all along, Diane, is that little toddler, that 1-year-old at the time little girl. There have been court battles over the custody of that child as well, as the case against Frazee for murder has unfolded too.
And our reporter is in that courtroom right now, continuing to get information. We're trying to hear from our producers too about any updates, but of course the biggest accusation against him, murder, first degree. Guilty. 11 News reporter Ashley Franco has been in the courtroom from opening statements throughout the entire thing. She's joining us now live outside the Teller County Courthouse. Ashley, what are you learning?
Well, Don and Diane, that verdict just came in. The jury says they unanimously found Patrick Frazee guilty of first-degree murders after just 3.5 hours of deliberation. And it seemed this happened a little quick. We just heard closing arguments this morning. The defense says there was no evidence to show that Patrick Frazee committed the crime. The prosecution said all of their evidence pointed toward Patrick Frazee. So again, we just heard in the courtroom that he has been found unanimously guilty of first-degree murder by the jury. Guys, back to you.
Ashley Franco outside the Teller County Courthouse. Have you heard much as far as any reaction goes yet, Ashley? I know you kind of came outside as soon as this was announced, but what are you hearing?
Well, I also want to just give you a quick update from our sister station, KCNC. They tell us that he is guilty on all 6 counts that he's been charged with. So just a quick update for you guys, all 6 counts. That's tampering with a deceased body, solicitation of murder, felony first-degree murder, and several other counts that he's been facing. Wow. So just a quick note that that's just in right now, guilty of all 6 charges.
Wow. Ashley, what was the reaction when you heard that guilty verdict?
Yeah, talk about it.
Well, looking at Kelsey Barrett's family first, of course, we saw her dad is in the courtroom right now. The rest of her family is back home, but multiple members of her family just go to him and pat him on the back and give him a little bit of support. Her father was very emotional during that, and Patrick Frazee just had a hung head most of the time from what I saw, but I wanted to get out here and give you as much information as we could, as quick as we possibly could.
And we're finding out already, Ashley, that he's going to be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As we've dealt with the family members over time, that must be what they were after in this whole situation, and prosecutors as well.
Right, Don, and I think we are hearing that that sentencing is a life sentencing. So seeing those family members in court and Kelsey Barrett's dad become emotional during that to finally maybe have a little piece of justice just for the family. Of course, nothing is going to bring Kelsey Barrett back, but maybe this little bit, the closing of this case, can hopefully help that family move forward.
Oh, it's such a fascinating development. Ashley, you have been there from moment one when we first reported that she was missing, and it's got to be fascinating for you too to now reach this moment and in what has happened.
Yeah, it is, and I think that over the past few weeks that we've heard everything kind of come out in this case, all of the puzzle pieces kind of fit together. It showed what the prosecution was doing, all of the evidence they had and what they were bringing forward and bringing to the table. And of course, this last witness that the prosecution had, a little bit of a surprise, but a former inmate of Patrick Frazee's testifying that he had a hit list of people he wanted to get gone, to make disappear before the trial. Just a big part of this trial was all of that evidence that we were hearing in just that short amount of time in 2 weeks. So today it's been a big day for everyone, and even just hours ago we were hearing closing statements, and now we have a verdict.
Yeah, fascinating. A convicted criminal now, a first-degree murder.
That is Ashley Franco reporting live for us from Teller County. Ashley, we want to let you go to get back inside to get more reaction as the courtroom clears after this verdict. You have to say that this is sort of you never know where testimony is going. Mm-hmm. But with the witness she mentioned on the final day, who testified that there was a hit list that Patrick Frazee presented to him, that sort of almost felt like, yeah, that might seal the whole thing.
Well, and Ashley talked about that being some bombshell testimony. We heard about him talking about being an inmate of Frazee's, being handed some toilet paper with that hit list written out on it. He saved that hit list, and that was such compelling evidence in this trial. And you wonder what went through the jurors' minds as they were listening to it.
You're looking at her home now in Woodland Park, Kelsey Barrett's home, where this crime allegedly happened, where and now he's now convicted of this. And what the jury believed, according to the testimony, is that on Thanksgiving night last year, in that condo, Patrick Frazee murdered his fiancée, the mother of his child, and at that point then got in touch with his ex-girlfriend in Idaho, Crystal Lee, and told her to come down to southern Colorado and clean up the crime scene with him.
It is one of the most horrific things that we've heard, Don, in our careers, listening to that testimony and exactly what happened inside of that apartment that ended her life. This beautiful mom with such a future ahead of her, and her little daughter who has to live the rest of her life without her mom. And dad, he'll be in prison.
Crystal Lee testified at one point that as she was cleaning up, she tried to leave some evidence intact so investigators would eventually have some clues, some leads to lead them in the direction of that man, Patrick Frazee. Whether that was a huge factor in this or not, it certainly seems like something that at a moment where she was probably just emotionally in crisis, to be thinking that way may have helped this case.
Well, it's hard to look at him when you see this video now and know about the evil, disgusting, hateful, horrific crime that he committed against that Woodland Park mom, Kelsey Barrett. And now he will pay for it with the rest of his life in prison, no possibility of parole.
For the last many months, we've had to refer to this man, Patrick Frazee, as an accused killer. We've had to say that he allegedly killed his fiancée on Thanksgiving last year. But now, according to this jury, he's convicted, and we can say that he is a murderer, and he will be spending the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole.
And it only took them 3.5 hours to do it. Of course, we wanted to make sure we brought that to you as soon as that verdict was reached. We did that here on 11 News. We'll bring you more information, of course, online at kktv.com, and also coming up on 11 News at 4.
Complete reaction then. Thank you for joining us for this, and we'll see you then.